My name's Earl Thompson, and I've been a long-haul trucker for more than 20 years. I've driven through dust storms in Arizona, ice roads in Montana, and floods down near the Rio Grande. Nothing really rattles me anymore. You spend enough nights alone in a cab, you learn that silence can be louder than sound. But every time I drive past the sign for Route 47, I get that same uneasy feeling in my chest. A tightening, like someone's watching from the darkness. What happened on that road changed the way I see the night. Forever. It was late summer, early September, and Texas heat still clung to the air like a second skin. I had a load of auto parts heading toward El Paso, and I was making good time. The clock read 12:47 a.m. when the radio signal fizzled out, leaving nothing but static. The desert around me stretched endlessly, the moon hanging low behind a curtain of thin clouds. I remember thinking how lonely the world feels when it's just you, the hum of the engine, and a ribbon of asphalt fading into black. Route 47 isn't a road most drivers choose anymore. It cuts through a forgotten stretch of Texas, long, narrow, and cracked by years of heat and neglect. The GPS shows almost no landmarks, just the occasional dirt track or windmill. Folks say the road used to connect small oil towns before the wells dried up. Now it's just dust, silence, and ghosts of traffic long gone. But I was behind schedule. And when you've been driving as long as I have, shortcuts are hard to resist. About an hour in, the temperature dropped slightly, the air thick with humidity that promised a storm. My headlights carved a tunnel through the darkness, and every mile marker looked exactly like the last. I was starting to doze when I saw movement up ahead, a faint shimmer like heat rising from pavement. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and leaned forward over the wheel. The shimmer took form, a tall figure standing by the roadside, slowly waving one arm back and forth. I eased my foot off the gas. Picking up strangers in the middle of the night isn't something I do. Not out here, not anymore. But something about the way he moved didn't sit right with me. It wasn't desperation or panic. It was almost rhythmic, mechanical. The man didn't step forward or backward. He just stood there, as if waiting for me specifically. I slowed the truck to a crawl, headlights flooding him in a harsh yellow glow. What I saw made my stomach tighten. He was tall, wearing a dusty black jacket and jeans that looked soaked from the knees down. His face, or maybe his head, was turned slightly away from the light. The brim of his cap cast a shadow that hid his eyes completely. For a second I thought maybe he'd been in an accident, or his car had broken down. But there were no tire tracks, no vehicle, nothing but dry grass swaying gently behind him. I rolled the window down halfway and called out, "You okay, buddy?" He didn't answer. Not a sound, not even a twitch. The air was so still that I could hear the ticking of my cooling engine. My gut told me to drive, to just go, but curiosity kept me frozen. Something about his stillness felt unnatural, like the world had paused just around him. After a few seconds that felt like minutes, I reached for my flashlight. Before I could switch it on, he lifted his head. Slowly. Too slowly. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I felt his gaze, cold, heavy, and direct. He didn't move toward me. He just stared. Then, without warning, my truck's headlights flickered, dimmed for a heartbeat, and came back. When the light steadied, he was gone. The road was empty again, the space where he'd stood now swallowed by darkness. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, heart thudding like a drum. I told myself it was exhaustion, a trick of the eyes. Long drives can do that to you. Your brain fills the silence with ghosts. I took a deep breath, shifted gears, and rolled back onto the highway. The clock read 1:12 a.m. I pushed the truck faster, eager to reach the next town. But just as my nerves started to settle, I saw him again. There he was, farther up the road, same side, same wave. My throat went dry. I was sure I hadn't turned around. There were no turns, no crossroads for miles. Yet somehow he was ahead of me again. This time I didn't slow down. I blew past him at 70 miles an hour, but as I did, I swear I saw his head snap toward me, following my truck as it passed. My side mirror caught a glimpse of his shadow, impossibly long, stretching across the asphalt, bending the wrong way. I didn't stop until my speedometer nearly kissed 85. My palms were slick on the wheel, and I kept checking the mirrors every few seconds. Each time I expected to see that shape standing in my taillights. But there was nothing, just black road and desert stretching endlessly behind me. I tried to focus on the white lines flashing beneath the truck, counting them to calm my nerves. But the road felt different now. Heavier somehow, like it didn't want me there. Then came the smell. Faint at first, then stronger. Burning metal mixed with something foul, like overheated oil. I checked my gauges. Everything read normal. The odor filled the cab, thick and suffocating, making my eyes water. I cursed under my breath, thinking maybe a belt had snapped or a brake pad was cooking. Reluctantly, I pulled over to the shoulder and killed the engine. When I stepped out, the night hit me hard, dense, quiet, unnervingly still. My boots crunched on gravel as I circled the truck, flashlight beam dancing across chrome and dust. Everything looked fine. Tire solid, hoses intact, trailer latch locked. But when I came back around to the driver's side, my light caught something that stopped me cold. A black handprint, smeared across the door. The fingers were long, uneven, and the mark looked scorched, as if pressed by something burning hot. I reached out, touched it with my glove. It was cold. Too cold. I wiped it, but the print didn't fade. It had fused into the paint, leaving a dark, oily residue. The air suddenly grew colder, my breath visible in the beam of the flashlight. A low hum started somewhere far off, like the rumble of distant thunder, though the sky was clear. I turned slowly, scanning the desert, but there was nothing. Just the sound growing louder. Then I heard it. You shouldn't have stopped. It was close. Too close. The words seemed to come from right behind my ear. I spun around, flashlight trembling in my grip, but the desert was empty. My heart hammered against my ribs, and for the first time in years, real fear took hold of me. I bolted back into the cab, slammed the door, and locked it. The smell had vanished. Everything was silent again. I turned the key. The engine roared to life like a lifeline. My headlights flickered once more before steadying. That's when I saw it. A faint shape in the mirror. Something moving just outside the reach of the light, pacing alongside the trailer as I started to roll forward. The faster I went, the faster it seemed to glide, keeping up effortlessly. I floored the gas, the engine screaming as I tore down the highway. The figure blurred, stretched, then melted into the dark like smoke. I didn't stop again until I reached the Odessa truck stop around 3 a.m. The neon lights buzzing overhead felt like salvation. I parked, jumped out, and walked inside, legs trembling from adrenaline. The place smelled like coffee and frying bacon. Familiar, human smells that grounded me back to reality. The waitress, a woman in her 50s with tired eyes, poured me a cup before I even asked. She must have seen the state I was in. "You all right, hun?" she asked. I told her I'd just had a strange encounter on Route 47. The moment I said the name, her hand paused mid-air. She set the pot down slowly. "Route 47, she repeated, voice low. "You're not the first one to say that." Before I could press her for details, an older man at the counter turned his head. Gray beard, denim jacket, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. "You saw him, didn't you?" he said, more statement than question. I didn't respond. He nodded anyway. "There was a wreck out there a few years back. Tanker flipped. Driver burned alive before help could reach him. Folks say he still waves for help." "Always waves." I wanted to laugh, tell him he was crazy. But the look on his face wasn't the kind of look people fake. I just stared into my coffee, the smell of burnt metal still lingering in my nostrils. When I finally stepped outside to my rig, dawn was starting to break. A faint red line on the horizon. That's when I saw it again. The same black handprint, burned deep into the door, untouched by dew or dust. I've scrubbed that door 100 times since. Polished it, repainted it, even replaced the panel once. But the print always comes back, faint but visible under certain light. I stopped driving Route 47 after that night. I'll take the long way around, no matter the delay. I tell new drivers to do the same, though most of them laugh it off. I don't blame them. You don't believe in things like that until you've seen them. Sometimes, when I'm hauling late and the desert wind hums low, I think I see him again, far off in the edge of my headlights, arm rising in that slow, weightless wave. Maybe he's not angry. Maybe he just wants someone to remember him. But one thing I know for sure, on Route 47 the road doesn't forget. It just waits for the next driver who does.